Dzień dobry. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Ciao ni hao. It's Ken at 10. How are you doing today? I hope you're well. Obviously, we've had the news about the lockdown and the new tier. And just to be clear on what it means for the housing market, you can continue to move home. You can sell your home. You can have your home valued. You can conduct viewings. You can have viewings conducted by an agent. Social distancing rules, of course, apply. But as far as the housing market is concerned, it's pretty much business as usual. And the new regulations don't impact massively on estate agency businesses in that sense. So if you need any more advice on that, please do give us a call. But be reassured that aside from social distancing, you can still move home. In terms of general news, mortgage lending has hit a 13-year high, which is not surprising given the deadline of 31st March for stamp duty. And we're still finding that businesses are very, very busy in the £500,000 range for obvious reasons, particularly for the middle buyers, many people refinancing their flats and renting them out. The flat market not being so busy as the housing market. And what's also interesting is that people are sitting on cash. And noticed today in the press that lots of people have actually increased their savings because they're not going out, they're not spending. So although it's awful for those that are not working, and no doubt there's lots of people out there struggling, my heart goes out to you if you're in that situation. Many people that are still working and telecommuting are actually sitting on more cash than usual. And in fact, net debt repaid has gone up massively, and that's quite a surprise, I thought, and will no doubt lead to people thinking about investments in property and other assets very soon, I think. As far as the market's concerned, I know this is really tough on families, especially if you've got children. My heart goes out to you. You know, all of a sudden you've got your children at home, and you know it's really tough. That said, we do have a light at the end of the tunnel now. Hopefully we'll be out of this thing soon. I'm not sure it's the spring anymore. I think it's more likely to be the summer. You know, needles are going in arms, aren't they? Hopefully that'll be an end of it at some point, but who knows? Tough times out there. In terms of the market, we're still getting lots of valuations through. I'm getting a lot of calls from people that are actually currently with other agents and thinking about swapping, which indicates that there are issues out there in the marketplace in terms of people struggling to sell for one reason or another. Obviously, there's a bit of a glut of flats on the market, so that's been an issue. But particularly, we've had a lot of calls from people saying, I'm unhappy with my existing agent. And when you dig a bit, there's varying reasons, but the main one seems to be a lack of feedback from existing agents. In other words, people don't mind that they haven't sold, but they do mind when they can't get information from their agents in that regard. In terms of lettings, extremely busy on lettings. Tenants out there still looking around, and very busy indeed. Apart from that, we're looking very, very busy on sales valuations too, as you might expect at the beginning of the year. I think a lot of people make that decision to move. If you are thinking of moving, I would say if you're in the middle of a move particularly, consider removals, get them booked in early, even if just provisionally right now. Make sure that you speak to removals companies and see when they have slots and availability. And maybe you consider, think out the box a little, you know. One of the most popular days of the week to move is a Friday, obviously because people are off at the weekend and therefore they organise their move on a Friday. What about doing one on a Monday or a Tuesday? You know, days when the removals companies maybe can help you. So certainly one of the first things I would do if you're thinking about moving and you think about completion dates is maybe think outside of the box in terms of dates in order that you can actually facilitate that move, because that's going to be one of the logistical problems is, yes, I want to move on that date, but where are the removals companies? And that would be an interesting one because they're all doubly busy because of this deadline, of course. Will they extend the deadline? Well, it's a question I'm asked every day, and I don't have a crystal ball. If I were the Chancellor, I'd definitely extend the deadline. But if I were the Chancellor also, I wouldn't tell you that, because the stimulus that it's created for the market has been phenomenal. And for that to continue, we need to feel that that deadline is a hard one. So if I'm the Chancellor, I'm thinking perhaps we extend that when we're quite close to it, or perhaps taper it. So I hope to have some good news on that for you, but you can't be entirely sure, can you? This thing's so fast moving. You know, one moment it seemed like we were coming out of the pandemic. Now all of a sudden, massive rising cases, and here we are in a new lockdown. So very frustrating for everybody, I know. Happy New Year, Tarek. Nice to see you online with us. Always good to see you there, Tarek. And yeah, and thanks for all the love. Look, we've just come back online. We've got lots of likes and shares and people saying hi, and it's lovely to see that as well. thank you so much for watching. It encourages us to do more shows and keep you updated on what's going right here in London, the housing market. One other thing that's very common right now is gazumping, and this is really a difficult thing. We had one yesterday where a client has been gazumped. Somebody was buying a house, it was agreed, and then somebody came out with a substantially higher offer. A couple of things on that you need to know. One is the agent is obliged to tell their client, their selling client, what any offer that comes in is. This is by law. They have 24 hours to forward up your offer to their client. So from that point of view, it's not necessarily the agent saying, look, we should, take this new offer. And more often than not, and certainly with us, we're not actively marketing if we've got a buyer that's been agreed. But if somebody comes along and makes a higher offer, we are legally obliged to put it forward. And you need to sit yourself in the vendor's position for this one, buyers, and think, well, you might feel that you're morally committed to a buyer, and that's understandable and very respectful. But also there's a point beyond which you start thinking, well, hang on a minute, if it's 5,000 more, then maybe that's not significant and my morals are ahead of that. But what if it's 10? What if it's 20? What if it's 50? There is a point when all of us might say, well, hang on a minute, that's a serious amount of money for my family. I need to protect us and therefore look at the higher money, which is really frustrating, I know. And I know, people think that housing shouldn't be about money, it's about family. But in the end, sellers have to protect their positions, and agents' job is to protect them as well, and in order to get the best price for them. And that can be a harsh thing. And it does mean that in the end, there will be disappointed people, which is always tough. But, in a busy market, in a bullish market like today, there will always be disappointed people that don't quite get there, that don't quite make it. And quite often the agent will be the target for that. And of course, we've got broad shoulders. We're used to it. It's what happens. And it's why sellers pay us, and buyers, remember, sellers do pay us. So we are there for them first and foremost. Of course, we never want to let buyers down if we can help it. But in the end, we are salaried by our sellers, and we never forget that. They're our clients, and they're the ones that we'll defend and work really hard for, just the same as you would for your employer, because we see it that way, that they're our employers, they're our bosses. Client is king, and we do our best to help them where we can. So if you think you're moving this year still, and you're thinking you want to beat that deadline, my advice is, number one, find an agent that can do it for you. Number two, find an agent with no bull. These agents are saying, definitely go with us now, and you'll be done by the 31st of March. Well, that's just a lie, and you should see through that like a sheet of glass. So, if an agent says, look, I don't know if we can get there, but we can do X, Y, and Z, as we'd be saying, well, we don't know that we can definitely get there, but we do know we can get our photographer there this week. We can get the money laundering done today. Agents that are really going to take action and look in your best interest straight away. That's what you need if you're going to sell right now, because timing is really, really tight. So that's it from Ken at 10 today. Really sorry if you're in the middle of this new tier lockdown. I know it's really frustrating and really, really tough for lots of people out there. My heart goes out to you if you have children and you're now stuck at home where you were hoping to be at work today. Really hard. But we do have a light at the end of the tunnel. We do have a vaccine, or a number of vaccines, and hopefully more coming on stream soon. And hopefully we'll be out of this by the spring or summer. That's it from Ken at 10 today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you same time tomorrow. Take care. Keep your families safe.